Promise me that if the words you hear in this video resonate with you, you will apply them to your life with speed and with intention. When you truly let go of everything you have ever wanted will become yours. Now, most people will hear that and immediately assume that detachment means not caring or giving up or becoming passive about your life. But that is not at all what detachment is about. It's the furthest thing from the truth. Detachment is simply the removal of a psychological dependence on an external outcome. And once you start paying close attention to human behavior, the principle becomes obvious literally everywhere that you look. I want you to think about a man who desperately wants a woman's approval. Around her, he becomes completely unnatural and not at all like himself. He overthinks everything that he says, he hesitates, he performs a version of himself rather than just being the man that he actually is. But the moment that he genuinely stops needing her approval and stops caring about this external outcome, his behavior stabilizes around her. He becomes more relaxed, he becomes more present, he becomes super confident and becomes who he actually is. And ironically enough, that is almost always when the real attraction occurs. And the same exact thing happens with money. The person who is desperately in need of money will tend to make worse decisions. They will rush, they will force opportunities that aren't great for them or that they're not ready for. They will overthink every single move that they make. They won't move with speed. They won't take risk because attachment introduces fear into the equation, and fear distorts how you think and how you behave, always. But someone who is internally grounded and who moves through those same situations without attachment is completely different. They're clear, they're calm, they're far more effective, and you've probably seen it in your life all of the time. And once you start noticing it, you begin to see it everywhere. In relationships, in business, in performance, in how people carry themselves, attachment will always distort your natural state of behavior. But detachment will always restore your clarity. Now, the deeper question is, why does this happen? And this is where the conversation goes somewhere where most people don't know to take it or don't desire to take it. In the 20th century, there was a teacher of consciousness whom I respect a lot, whose name was Neville Goddard. He spoke about this constantly. He said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And most people who come across that reduce it to the generic manifestation content that we have nowadays. They just say, visualize harder, convince the universe that you already have it, pretend like everything is already yours. But that is not at all what he is describing in that statement. What he is actually describing, a state where your sense of self is no longer dependent on an external confirmation or outcome or validation. And what is fascinating is that ancient Hermetic principles describe the exact same idea, which is maybe where he got them from, thousands of years before he wrote it down. The Kybalion, which is a book that I absolutely love, that states all of these Hermetic principles, has a law in there called the law of correspondence, which states, as within, so without, meaning that your outer world is a direct reflection of your inner world, and not in like a mystical, magical way, but behaviorally and psychologically, through your perception and your decision-making and your emotional patterns. Think about someone who deep down carries a belief that they're not worthy, right? Even when genuinely good things happen to them, they will struggle to fully accept and receive them. Compliments, they won't accept them or they'll feel temporary. Success that they achieve will feel fragile and like they didn't deserve it. Relationships for them will feel like they could fall apart at any moment, and they usually will self-sabotage. Not because things are actually unstable, but because that person is experiencing everything through the filter of an identity that does not believe that they deserve what they have. This is why two people can go through the exact same situation and walk away with fully different experiences of how it went. One person might look for or see rejection, whereas the other person might see redirection. One person might see failure, and another person might see feedback. The external event that they're experiencing is 100% identical, but the internal state produced by it is completely different. And over time, that internal state will shape their behavior on such a consistent basis that it begins to produce the same results over and over and over and over again for them in different situations. Different relationship, different girlfriend, different boyfriend, different husband, different wife, same insecurity. Different opportunity, same self-sabotage. Neville is even quoted as to saying that man's chief delusion is our conviction that there are other causes other than our internal state of consciousness. This is the only thing that matters. Now here's where we get really specific. Attachment is rarely about the thing that you're attached to itself, and it's almost always about what that thing represents, right? Psychologically to the person that wants it. People think that they want money, but what they actually want is the feeling of security that money can provide them with or represents. People think that they want status, but what they actually want is to feel significant. People think that they want love, but what they actually want underneath everything is to feel worthy, because they don't feel worthy internally. And the moment your emotional stability becomes dependent on external circumstances or these external things arriving for you, you become psychologically trapped by them. Your peace of mind now depends on how other people respond to you, on how much money you make, on whether things go according to the plan you had in your head, on whether reality keeps validating your sense of self. And what is interesting is that you can actually feel this happening in real time with other people. I want you to think of a time where somebody felt like they were needy, like they were too much, like they were just trying too hard. That's real. You've felt it. You know what it feels like. There's a pressure underneath every single one of those interactions, a subtle desperation that you're getting from them, a need for them to feel reassured about your opinion and validated by your opinion. And you feel it, or they feel it, even when they're trying their best, and even when they're trying to hide it. Because attachment changes behavior so automatically, and other people register that change even when you cannot even yourself articulate it. This is exactly why athletes choke under pressure. The moment they become consumed by the outcome, they stop performing in their natural state. Fear enters the system and their fluidity disappears and their performance disappears. But when someone enters flow state and there's no overthinking, there's no internal friction, they're just 100% present with the person that they know they are, they can perform to any degree. They become the best version of themselves. Now, I want to be really clear about something specific, right? Because I think this is where most people misunderstand what detachment truly means. It is not about becoming emotionless or suppressing the desires that you know you have, or pretending that you don't care about the outcomes. Because you are absolutely allowed to want success, love, money, achievement, all these different things. The desire for those things is not the problem. It is the dependence that is the problem. Because once your identity becomes dependent on these external outcomes, like I mentioned, you stop living freely. The Kybalion makes this point directly. The all is mind, and that the universe is mental, meaning that your consciousness is not separate from how you experience reality. It is the very lens through which reality is constructed for you, and the lens through which you experience it. And whether you come at this thought bubble from a spiritual perspective or purely a psychological one, the observable result remains the same. A person who is genuinely at peace with rejection behaves completely different than someone who is terrified of it. A person who is internally secure will always behave completely differently than someone whose sense of self-worth and sense of self-love depends on external validation. Open people will move through life in always a fundamentally different way. They will adapt faster, they will recover faster, they will think more clearly under pressure because they're not succumbing to the external circumstance of the situation. And the law of detachment is not a manifestation strategy. It's just about freedom, about living your true self in all rooms, no matter what. And I promise you, if you do that, all of the things you've ever wanted will come your way, because it's not coming from a place of lack. When you genuinely begin cultivating the feelings that you want from the inside rather than the outside, everything changes, man. Life gets so easy. Life feels blissful. You're not chasing things anymore from a place of emptiness. You're moving from a place of wholeness, a place of completeness. There's no desperation. You're not forcing shit. You're just moving fluid, congruent, which is exactly why the statement I opened up this video with is so true. When you truly let go of everything, everything you have ever wanted will become yours. Because the moment you no longer need reality to validate your self-worth, reality, or external circumstance, loses its power over you. I hope you enjoyed the video. I think the law of detachment is something that a lot of people know about but misunderstand the actual application of it. If you did enjoy it, feel free to subscribe, leave a like down below, send me a DM on Instagram at tristan.vds if you'd like to speak further about the topic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.